20th century. I hope that my readers have a similar sensation when they put the book down. If I have done my job properly as a biographer, they will willingly suspend their knowledge of how the story ends and allow my narrative to transport them back into Lincoln's world, where they can walk with him as his life unfolds, sharing in his humanity. In my original preface, I claimed that I was presenting not the Lincoln of myth and legend, but the actual man of history. This was a misleading statement, for it suggested that no art was involved in my reconstruction of his life, that all I or anyone else had to do was to examine the facts critically, and there the real Lincoln would be. When I referred to resurrecting the Lincoln of history, I did not mean that a definitive portrait could be shaped that would stand forever as the way he really was. As I've said elsewhere, historical biography is an interpretive art, not an exact science. The very materials we use to forge biography, letters, journals, diaries, interviews, recollections, and the like, were all recorded by people who filtered things through their own perceptions and sensibilities. Because biographical materials are themselves imprecise and interpretative, it is impossible for anyone to produce a definitive biography, a fixed and final portrait of Lincoln or any other figure. As we strive for biographical and historical truth, the best we can hope for is a careful approximation of what Lincoln was like in the days he lived. With malice toward none, then, is my approximation of Lincoln, based on authenticated detail and a synthesis of Lincoln scholarship. 2. Since 1948, various panels of scholars have rated Lincoln as America's strongest president. I had the honor of participating in the most recent poll, C-SPAN's 2009 Historians Presidential Leadership Survey. In it, a cross-section of 65 presidential historians ranked Lincoln the best of 42 presidents on the basis of his powerful leadership in managing the worst crisis the nation has ever faced. His moral authority, his vision in the agenda he set for saving the Union and ultimately for eradicating slavery, his pursuit of equal justice for all, and his performance in the context of his time. I would add another category. All his political career, he was the most ardent and uncompromising champion of popular government who ever lived. I hope that my biography illustrates these points, so that listeners will have a clearer understanding of why Lincoln is almost universally regarded as our greatest president. Part 1. Rivers of Time. Outside of Illinois, people knew little about him. Even newspapers were conspicuously reticent about his life and background. All most could say was that he hailed from Illinois, that he had served a single term in Congress, and had lost a bitter Senate contest to Stephen A. Douglas a couple of years before. And now, in the summer of 1860, he was the Republican candidate for President of the United States in what promised to be the most combustible election the Union had ever known. In the South, Democrats, who understood nothing about the candidate as a man, nothing at all, castigated him as a symbol of black republicanism, a sooty and scoundrelly abolitionist who wanted to free the slaves and mongrelize the white race. In the North, Democratic papers disparaged him as a party hack and a political unknown who lacked the ability to serve as president. Even many Republicans were hard-pressed to talk specifically about their candidate, to sell voters on his appeal and his talents. Some party bosses mistakenly thought his first name was Abram, and various newspapers persisted in calling him that. "There are thousands who do not yet know Abraham Lincoln," observed Horace Greeley of the New York Tribune, and he called for the publication of an inexpensive biography that Republicans